Hey guys, it's Callous once again with another live narration for CI7 play-ins. We are over in the Magma bracket this time, and it's going to be between Lax and Zern. Likely the only time in Pokemon history in which the combined usernames are just 6 letters and 2 of them are X. We're setting records here in Callous Invitational. Lax is going to be on the bottom. Zern is going to be on the top. And they are both going to be happy enough with the lead matchup to stay in, resulting in a spike and a substitute, which is a fair turn for both, I would say. Hidden Power. Do we have some kind of YOLO Scarm going for Hidden Power Ground? Pretty uncommon. And interestingly, this Sub-Punch Tar does not seemingly, it's just strictly physical. So strictly physical Sub-Tar is old stuff. I thought when he subbed up that it was going to be something like Sub-Punch Flamethrower Grass or, Sub-Punch Bolt Beam or something to that effect, but it is straight physical. And Rock Slide there does miss, unluckily, but it would not have done a lot to the incoming Swampert. So fair enough, a little bit of damage on the Scarm, even less damage on the Tar, but of course there is the one spike down. Relatively even start to game one here in what you guys know is a best of 3. Let me go ahead and just be that guy, especially while there's a little pause, instead of waiting until the end of the video. Guys, donations. We need them. We're slacking. We're only at about 800 bucks. Fine start, but very far from our target goal of 2,600 to break last year's record, or 3,000 just to make me a real happy guy and satisfied with my CI contributions. If you want to donate, it's super easy. It's via donation link via PayPal. It's fast. It's safe. It completely supports the tour and the players. I don't keep any of it, so please consider doing that if you've been enjoying the tour and if you're going to enjoy the main event and if you have the means. Appreciate you considering. Back to the action. Lax comes in on a Toxic, and it does in fact have immunity, which I would say is overwhelmingly the more common ability that gets used on Lax. I do think there are instances in which Thick Fat is the correct choice. I don't think it should always be immunity, but immunity is usually the right choice and is definitely the more commonly used hidden power, and that's what we see here, blanking the Toxic. This could be some kind of physical or mixed offense for Zern, and it's a lot less clear what we're looking at for Lax. Well, not so much anymore. Double Steel coming down. Scarm and Fori. Haven't seen this archetype in a while, so we are really, with this whole match so far, with strictly physical Subtar and with Double Steel, we are going through the wormhole back to 2012, 13. I mean, the Lax, the Tar rather, the strictly physical Subtar is even older than that. That's like fucking VIL Tar. That is old school. And then I don't remember exactly when the Double Steel came up. It was Danilo who came up with it. It's a long time ago, 2013 or 14 maybe. Like I said, we went through a wormhole here, came out the other side, and things were different. So now all the spikes are down. And he does get a sub off. I really doubt he has HP Grass, but who knows. Here comes the sub and the Focus Punch. 39%, has not shown the last move. It is probably just EQ, but it could be like HP Bug or something like that. Big question is whether or not he has a spinner, and that has now been answered. He's got a Starmie. Whether or not Lax can protect the spikes is a different question, but I would expect a rapid spin here. He could go for a cover if he's really worried about either Swampert EQing or about a Ghost coming in, but it's probably, I was going to say it's probably just a spin. He's going to play it aggro. So he goes Hydro Pump, and it does a ton of damage to the T-Tar here. And the traditional last pokes on this team are just Bliss and Dugtrio. And there's Ice Beam. Good enough. Scarm down. First knockout of the series for Zern. But this is not the traditional version of this team. Zapdos comes in. What the fuck is this? Double Spiker against Double Spinner? What is happening here? This is a funky, funky set. Double spiker and double spinner. What a weird fucking matchup. We are in a wormhole back to the days of yore. And like I said, what a funky matchup. Double spiker, double spinner. What are the odds? Lax has been botted by Zern with the counter team. The one time the dude shows up with Skarm plus 4E, Zern in turn shows up with Starmie, which might not even have Rapid Spin, and Claydol. This is weird in a good way, in an entertaining way, but this is some funky shit. Anyway, 4E comes in, and he does reestablish a lair, but here's Charizard in the back for Zern. Very threatening in this position. Nothing switches in to the Fire Blast plus Grass or Fire Blast plus Focus Punch combo here. And there's the Blast. That's gotta be, yeah, bulky Zapdos to take it that well, just 42%, and then roars it out as well. So clearly a bulky Zap, perhaps a Rest Zap, very well maybe something like Blissey, specifically Aromatherapy or Heal Bell Blissey in the back for Lax. And he's going to go for Focus Punch, which is going to be immediately boomed. That's probably a good trade for Lax. However, with both spikers now down, there's nothing preventing Zern, should he find the opportunity, from rapid spinning the one layer that is down away, which he does try to do now, which I don't really like. I think it's too obvious. I think he should have done something other than Doll, because he's going to get smacked here. But maybe he thinks you get rid of the spikes at all costs. Any damage on the Doll, don't give a fuck. I just want spikes gone. Fair enough. If that is the case, he got his wish. No more spikes, and probably Lax is going to have a hard time winning now. His team seemed very reliant on getting and keeping those down. And it is Last Poke Bliss, unsurprisingly. I would be super shocked if there were a CM Bliss. It is almost certainly just some kind of utility Bliss. Like I said, probably Heal Bell or Aromatherapy makes sense on this squad. So I think Lax is going to have a hard time actually killing anything. And Zern is again going to blank a Toxic. Last time it was with Immunity Lax. This time it's with Metagross. And like I said, I think Zern is in a good place. And Lax is going to have a very hard time winning this game from this position. I was joking when I said that he got botted, obviously. I'm not accusing Zern of cheating, obviously. But this matchup really did feel like a nightmare for Lax. Like I said, what are the odds? The one time you bring double spiker, your opponent has double spinner. Again, noting that it might not really be double spinner because the Starmie very well may not actually have rapid spin. It might just be straight up 4-attack off star. But yeah, no, this is a funky one, without a doubt. Mash there hits but doesn't raise. Swampert takes it just fine. Shows Protect, gets some lefties. Mash there, as it turns out, would have missed anyway. Not that he had any way of knowing that. This is going to be a tough game for Lax to win. Certainly not prepared to call it over, but Zern feels quite a ways ahead. He has both a good matchup and a good current position. Both players dipping into the timer in what has otherwise been a relatively fast game. Mash and Surf, respectively. Surf obviously getting the better end of that at 33%, as opposed to just 19% from the Mash. Starmie did show Recover. I must have missed that. So, last move T-Bolt, presumably. Like I said, I don't think it has spin, so it is just an off star, it looks like. Back we go. Hey, maybe Lax is doing better than I thought. Apparently Zern can't even switch into a Swampert. Surf there, no big deal. Can recover those away. Swampert, I believe, is not actually... Yeah, I think it's a Mono Pert. I believe the last move is either going to be Refresh or Roar, both of which make plenty of sense on this kind of squad. So it doesn't actually have EQ, That's even worse. It's something that only has one attack is that difficult for Zern to switch into, but evidently it is. The Starmie can mostly handle it, but you got to watch for crits. And then the Lax could have handled it, but that is no longer an option. 3 of the 5 pokes remaining for Zern, the Tar, the Doll, and the Charizard, are of course all water weak. So that makes it obnoxious, but the Charizard at least can definitely hit the Swampert meaningfully. Presumably it has HP Grass, and then we'll see what the others can do. Doll is going to sneak in on T-Bolt here. Opportunity to do something if he wants to boom or what have you. This would be the time. Assuming that he can live the hidden power or whatever, which I would say is basically guaranteed, given that this is a bulky Zapdos that probably has little or no offensive investment whatsoever. And they're both dipping into the timer again, which I appreciate, genuinely. I know sometimes I joke about, oh, live narration, it's boring, they're playing so slow, whatever. I really do appreciate when they use the timer, truly, because to me it indicates that they're taking the tour seriously, they care about the match, they care about winning, they're not just screwing off, they take my invite seriously. That really matters to me. I appreciate that the effort is being put in. I like when people prep, I like when people use timer. I want to feel like people respect the tournament and respect the donors and everybody who puts effort into making this a reality. And so far, like I said, it looks like it's being taken seriously, which I appreciate. There is again a small pause here after we exchange blows, Hidden Power and Psychic respectively. Zapdos obviously faster here, and Claydol has no chance to survive Hidden Power. So it's on Zern to figure out what to do. He does have multiple things that could switch into a Hidden Power, but those things do not want to switch into a Thunderbolt, so he's got to be careful. And ultimately, Zern decides to let it go. The Charizard is faster here, which we remember from earlier, but if we didn't know that, we could see based on who takes sand damage first. And Lax is not prepared to give up the Zapdos here. So Bliss comes in. Substitute happens, big focus punch coming, leaving Bliss at just 16%, well in range of a lethal Fire Blast if it hits with the imperfect 85% accuracy. Options probably pretty limited for Lax. You can play for a dodge, of course, but as far as things actually hitting, nothing really wants to switch in here if the last move is in fact HP Grass, which is the most common thing in this scenario. And there it is, a whopping 90%. But Swampert survives and gets the retaliation surf off. Zard goes down. 3-3 situation now as Protect happens. Ice Beam still hasn't shown the last move, but like I said, I think it's T-Bolt. Hydro Pump PP could be a factor here if we get a miss, but for now, it's going to snipe out the T-Tower with Ice Beam, and then obviously it would outspeed and kill the Zapdos as well, so the Swampert is going to have to be the guy here, and Lax does make the right play with Toxic on a predicted recover turn. Unfortunately, 85 accuracy does not cooperate in this case with the miss. PP check here. 4 Hydro Pumps. Those could miss or be protected against. There you go. Hydro Pump misses 80-20. There are times for sure where you'd rather have Surf. I personally like Surf better than Hydro Pump on most Pokemon. And we'll see if it comes back to bite him here. But out of the way he goes. Meta eats a Surf on the way in. There's EQ. And there's a Torrent Surf to get him down. Makes this close yet again. 2-2. It is very possible that Zern loses this game because he has Hydro Pump rather than Surf. There is absolutely a world, especially with one more miss, in which the Hydro Pumps simply run out of PP. That's on him, man. You run Hydro Pump, you run the risks. Sometimes you miss, sometimes you run out of PP. There's also a crucially important thing that can happen here, where if Lax predicts Hydro Pump from Zern, he can switch in Zapdos, let that die, and that'll cost 2 PP because of pressure. and he'll be down to just one Hydro Pump, and then all Lax would have to do is either protect on the Hydro Pump turn or dodge it, and Zern will be out of Hydro Pumps, and then there's a real chance that the Swampert can clean the game. Here comes T-Tar. That's a little curious. He's saying that he's faster than Swampert. Swampert is not going to be minus speed here, because remember, he doesn't have any physical moves. He's going to be minus attack, so there's definitely cases where Swampert would be faster. This evidently is not one of them, as the EQ comes down. Obligatory protect is going to have to happen here. The question is, do you fodder Zapdos, or do you go for double protect now? This is a close late game. This game turned out quite a bit closer than I thought that it might. So here comes Swampert. Dodging Hydro Pumps is going to be pretty crucial here. There's the Protect, and there's the Ice Beam. So I think you have to Toxic now and just cross your fingers. And he agrees. Unfortunately, Hydro Pump does connect, and Lax, in what I thought was a difficult matchup, he's going to fight his way back. And it was close, but it does go the way based on the matchup that I thought that it would go, and that is Zern taking down what was ultimately a close game there. And depending on the amount of special defense on the Swampert, which Monopert does run sometimes, it is possible that he should have gone for the 50-50 protect there, and maybe had he gotten the 50-50 protect off, and he would then be at whatever it was, 41-42, he very well may have been able to tank a Hydro Pump, depending on his EVs. Obviously, without knowing his exact team and the way that he chose to EV it, I don't know what the calc would be, but it's possible that with a 50-50 protect, that the following Hydro Pump would not have been a guaranteed kill. So it's arguable that you don't go for Toxic there and you flip the coin on protect, but like I said, as the commentator, without knowing exactly what his spread was and what amount, if any, of special defense that he had, it's hard to know. But yeah, that game for sure ended up pretty close and seemingly could have gone either way there. Zern with a crucial 1-0 lead as we wait for them to figure out the second game, what they want to do for teams and whatever adjustments they want to make. Tight one. Play-ins have been good for the most part. There's been a couple of one-sided ones, but for the most part, there have been close, competitive, exciting games. These have been good play-ins. It feels like there's a lot of parity. It's very unclear to me who's going to make it through in any given bracket. It's been solid to watch. I'm happy with the product at this time, and I hope you guys are as well. Not applicable here just yet, because it's only been a couple minutes, but something that I am genuinely thinking about adding into the rules for main is that there is a maximum amount of time in between games, which is probably just 5 minutes, and then the exception would be if the previous game took like 150 plus turns or whatever arbitrary number I decide, then you get 10 minutes if you want instead of 5, but something I want to avoid, not only to respect everybody's time and pace of play and all that, but also just because it makes for better live narrations. It stinks to kill huge gaps in between. I might add the rule for that reason. We do have a game 2 here, and like I said, that was not an unreasonably large pause. I am going to switch sides for continuity and put Lax back on the bottom and Zern back on the top. But when it's like 10-15 minutes or whatever in between games, that's, I don't know, that's pushing it a little bit in my opinion. So we'll see how bad it gets or how the players feel about it. Maybe I'll take a vote on it, but I am truly considering adding that rule to main event this year. Anyhow, back to this game. So Lax has a Zapdos lead, pretty standard stuff. Regis is a mon that I like more than most people. I don't see it lead very often, but I like Regis. Evidently in this case it's CB Regis, which it's funky, and it immediately makes me think of that specific McMagan team that he used in, I want to say, SPL that had the CB Regis. I'm not so good about remembering what tournament stuff was used in, but I memorized teams pretty well, and that's immediately what it made me think of. It could be that Roro squad. Zern has opted twice for Charizard here, which, man, him and Sprinkles are going to get along. Big fans of the Zard. those two guys. There is a spike down in a very early 5-5 game. Obviously, Skarm is threatened here by the possibility of Fire Blast, Flamethrower, what have you. What could happen is Zern just goes for sub again, and Lax immediately roars him out. But the fact that there's this much hesitation, oh boy, Salamence, you say. I mean, I guess not an ideal switch. Lax must not have something like Kuhn or Milotic or even Starmie. If your best Lax switch-in is Salamence, that makes me a bit nervous, especially because it's this early in the game. I could see making that switch later in the game in like a kind of desperate situation, but this early on, your answer to Charizard is Salamence? I don't know about all that. Maybe Zern's onto something. Maybe his scout has indicated that Lax cheats against Zard or is weak against Zard. And yeah, maybe he caught something here. Lax is going to try to get cute and Hydro Pump the Zard there. Like the idea, not a good result in this case. Not only would it not have done much to Lax had it connected, but it just completely misses. And now the cat is out of the bag. Now the surprise is revealed. And he probably won't let that happen now. He's probably not going to get his Zard Hydro Pumped later in the game, now that we know that's there. Over to Skarm. And there is Curse. +1 boom would kill if it were to connect. But there's always the mind game here of do you protect? What if he curses when I protect? What if I phase him out when he curses? What if I try to phase him out and he booms? That whole mental thing going on. They end up trading a second layer of spikes for the boom. Obviously, protect there would have been sweet for Lax. He would have blown into thin air. But it's going to leave us as it stands with a 4-4 game, 2 unrevealeds on each side, and 2 layers of spikes down beneath Zern's team. So on paper, Lax looks decent here, but I worry about dealing with the Zard. Lax may be obligated to just go to Zapdos here to fend off the Charizard. I think that's the obvious thing to do for Lax. But of course, Zern might know that that's the obvious thing and go to like Cheetar or something in the back that punishes the Zapdos. You can go to Mence if you want to get an Intimidate off on something, but I don't know, man. The Zard is scary. So it is the obvious play in the Zapdos, so neither player, as is all too common in these situations, both players very stubborn and not willing to reveal something in the back when maybe they should have. Zapdos obviously with the edge here, and Dugtrio is not a good switch in even to Thunderbolt. It would step on spikes, be vulnerable to hidden power, can't one-hit KO Zapdos, all that good stuff. So I don't know what the play is here for Zern, but he's probably going to switch. Wow, he's got the balls to sub up again. Outplayed there. That is a straight-out outplay. Lax must have been anticipating a switch, and I don't blame him, but he's got the balls to just sub up again. It's so obvious to switch there, but man, that took some courage. He stays in, he subs up. Now it gets awkward, but in theory the Mence shouldn't be in that much danger if it is just HP Grass again. Obviously, if it is HP Ice, different story, but I think that's unlikely. I think it is the same exact set. I think it is Sub, Fire Punch, HP Grass, Focus Punch. I personally use Flamethrower over Fire Blast. I have been fully converted to the Church of Accuracy, but I do nevertheless believe that or something very close to that. You can nitpick Fire Blast versus Flamethrower, but I think Fire Move, Sub, Focus Punch, Grass is the best set of Charizard in most cases. I'm not a big beat-up guy, but in fact, that is not what the set is. We're looking at Sunny Day here. The plot thickens. Sub again. Dragon Claw. Lefty's being gained the whole time by Mence, but Zard is subbing his way down to a Papaya Berry, as we will soon see. Feels like there's a lot has happened in this battle for just 12 turns. Alright, here we go. Papaya Berry kicks in. With the sun behind it, this Fire Blast, with Blaze, with Sunny Day, with Papaya, is gonna do a bazillion. And Lax says, ah damn, like he's never seen the set before. Maybe he's not. T-Tar. And Fire Blast there still does a lot between Blaze and the Papaya, but obviously losing the Sun Boost and the resistance matters, and it doesn't kill, but Dugtrio's there for the revenge, so that is going to ultimately result in the trade of T-Tar and Zard, which I think is probably fine for both parties. If I'm Lax here, unless you have Substitute, which is free, I would click Thunderbolt here like 4 times in a row and make absolutely sure that Dugtrio is going to stay in. EQ. Toxic is interesting. I would Thunderbolt next turn. Alright, he flings Toxic at it, so making absolutely sure that Zern has no plans to switch, and he is willing to give up the Dugtrio here, so Lax is just going to sit here and click Thunderbolt over and over and over until the Dugtrio dies. I think that's fine. Maybe he switches it up and goes for Hidden Power, but I really do think you're kind of obligated, even though it's boring, to just Thunderbolt over and over again here. No free switches here. That would be a very bad situation to let something in for free. You just can't do it down a game, and when it's so tight like this is. And Lax agrees. After landing Toxic, he clicks Thunderbolt forever until Dugtrio dies. And we've got ourselves a Sun team as Executor comes in. Well, it has Chlorophyll, so if it gets a sunny day off, it'll be faster than anything on Lax's team. I don't know how you kill the Zapdos. A common set, for example, would be Sunny Day. Oh, well, he's just going to die to Drill Peck. Cool poke. You know, Heracross is also going to die to Drill Peck. So that was actually really anticlimactic at the end. But a common set for Executor would have been, for example, Sunny Day Solar Beam, which of course lets you use Solar Beam in 1 turn. HP Fire, which also benefits from Sunny Day. And then the last move is usually either like Sleep Powder or Boom. Basically where I was going is it wasn't going to have a move other than just booming on it that was going to kill the Zapdos there. As it turns out, and I mean, Regice and Lax, I guess, are decent about it, but as it turns out, Zern's team actually feels pretty vulnerable to Zapdos. Maybe it's specifically because it's Drill Peck Zapdos. Right set, right time, perhaps. But yeah, that game was close until it wasn't. It was very unclear when it was 3-3 or 4-4 who was going to win. And then, as it turns out, it was kind of a beating. Lax doesn't even show his last. 3 Mons alive at the end. Less close than it could have been. So fair enough. We are going to a game 3. Lax or Zern? Who shall it be? We're in that good old in-between game limbo here. I wonder if Zern is going to avoid funky stuff like this for the next one. Obviously, Executor did actual nothing that game. Did not even get a single attack off, nor did Hera. Hera is at least an OU poke, but I don't know. Will they go standard or will they go wild? It's really hard to say. It's been... Zern had a standard-ish team in game 1. Kinda. I mean, Starmie Claydol is not like the wildest thing ever if one of them isn't a spinner, which is the case. Double Steel's a little funky, but it is just a 4-y team, just a stall-y team at the end of the day. And then, yeah, this game 2, standard-ish for Lax, and sunny day team for Zern. I'm looking forward to game 3. Not sure what we're going to get out of these guys, but certainly an entertaining set up to this point. Zern, I don't think, is at all afraid to bust out weird stuff in Game 3. I don't think he's one of those guys, oh man, my tournament's on the line. I got to go back to boring standard. I got to play TSS. I don't think he's one of those dudes. Not that he can't or won't play TSS, but he is not afraid to, even though he just lost, even though it didn't work out, bust out something weird again and just go for it. And Lax, I think, is probably not at the level with ADV, with building anyway, where he's going to go too crazy, too wild. Now, granted, he very well may be getting teams from whoever he's friends with these days or whoever's in his test group. He doesn't necessarily have to build the teams himself. But I think he generally prefers something closer to solid and standard. And we will go ahead and switch for continuity as we begin Game 3. So far, anything but wild. These are two of the most common leads. T-Tar the most common, and then Mence in the top 4, one of the big 4 leads, if you will. Tar and Zap being the 2 most common, and then Meta and Meta and Mence not far behind, and then Skarm and Kuhn probably are like the next tier down. But these are very common leads, and this is always a weird matchup because they super duper threaten each other. As it turns out, they both have a move that 4x hits the other one, but one of them kills, one of them does not. And it is Lax with the early advantage, surviving the Brick Break, obviously not a CB Brick Break, and getting that Ice Beam back. So I'm assuming, since it is Brick Break, and it obviously wasn't CB, that was a mixed Mence. And I will operate that was the case for Zern when I try to decipher what the rest of his team is. But leading with a mixed Mence and leading with a mixed or fully special Tar really doesn't tell me too much of anything on this opening turn. I don't know if Zern was expecting to kill, was expecting a switch, or was expecting to not be ice beamed back. Maybe he was willing to trade Brick Break for Rock Slide and was not expecting Ice Beam. But Zern made that play when he didn't have to, and he now apparently is not confident in his follow-up. I would have thought that if he was making that play, he would have it in his mind. He would have a follow-up of, okay, if he kills me, if he ice beams me, this is what I'm going to do after. But already on turn 1, he's letting a good amount of timer go, and he's saying my sources have backfired a bit. That's got to make you a little nervous if you're a Zern fan. Surely you have some kind of follow-up into this T-Tar, right? There's no way that he doesn't have bare minimum something that is faster than the T-Tar and can scare it out here, right? I can't believe he's taking this much time. Over a minute after the first turn. Oh, man. Gotta make you nervous, like I said, if you're a Zern fan. I also speculate, I wonder if he has a Charizard for the 3rd time. Has gone with it twice in a row. One time it got there, one time it didn't. Interesting, this conversation. Well, it takes him a minute and a half to decide, but here's the Jirachi follow-up. Hidden Power, I mean, it could be ground or fighting or something. It's probably just HP Grass. There is a world where it's HP Fighting there, since it's the only thing other than stupid Dynamic Punch that it can learn in the fighting department. But I'm going to operate that it's HP Grass. It took way too long for us to get there, but Lax keeps it in and lets it happen. And the follow-up, very quick for Lax, no thinking involved, is going to be Celebi. Which is interesting if this is a Super Irachi, which it doesn't have to be. But if it is, it's interesting. It could devolve into a blow-for-blow situation quickly. Lax is not interested in that, and he goes for Leech Seed. He follows it up with Hidden Power, so he gets meaningful chunk on the Skarmory here. However, as it reliably does, it does get its layer of spikes down, and that is the key factor here. So Zern has very much changed it up here. He had 2 very different kinds of offenses in the first 2 games. This is clearly a stallier team for this 3rd game. Not clear yet what Lax has, but he keeps spamming Leech Seed, trying to hit everything and making stuff dance around with switches. So far, so good. Scarm nurses itself up to just shy of a third. And speaking of nurses, here is Blissey coming into yet another Leech Seed here. Psychic and CM. Well, you know, with Leech Seed, you're probably not going to be CM sweeping anybody anytime soon. I don't see the point of clicking Calm Mind there. I don't see the point of revealing that you're Calm Mind there. It seems like a wasted move on Zern's end from my perspective. The second the Leech Seed lands, there's no point of showing that, but he sees it differently. Unsurprisingly, out of the way he goes. Like I said, with the Leech Seed, it was never going to do anything, and we end up with meta on Swampert here. Still not clear what Lax's team is. It could be a whole lot of things. Kind of looks like a Ferdazi squad. That might be what he's got. And just a stall team for Zern. Just, TSS minus one of the S's at the moment. He doesn't have Tar, but stall team for Zern. And Ferdazi-esque squad for Lax, as they both have all 3 layers of spikes. However, the spinner is immediately blown out, which is good RNG for Lax. Rapid spin gets off without issue, no ghost. There is a toxic to put a clock on the Starmie. Spikes may get reestablished here, though he does have to be careful of a potential T-Bolt. He does not fear that, and he goes straight for the reestablishment of spikes, and in comes the Ments. So like I said, this reminds me of a Ferdazi squad. Would not surprise me if he got it from the man himself and or recreated it from a replay. Fire Blast comes down. Dragon Claw with a meaningful critical hit. That means that Claydol will die here if he tries to stay in and Rapid Spin. And indeed, he goes for Dragon Claw again. It has felt to me, for most of this game, like Lax has been in the driver's seat. He's certainly not curb stomping Zern, but it feels like Zern is on the back foot and needs to do some catching up here, and that Fire Blast does not help. Scarm gets toasted, and Lax with the 5-4 lead now. Here's Bliss. There's Brick Break. IB, yup. And it does not survive, does not even need the aid of the sand. It is just death. However, Blissey, if she comes in on those spikes again, will also die. So either Zern has to stay in and give it up, or he has to find a time to Rapid Spin with the doll. Easier said than done, given its current health. And then even then, Blissey would have to sneak in somehow and get a soft-boiled off, which at this low health is not going to be easy to do. I think I agree with the decision to just give it up. It's not a happy decision, but there's only so many choices in this spot. And there is Substitute to block Leech Seed as Zern goes for what might be his only chance to win this game. He's going to have to set up the sub CM Rachi. Hidden Power Fire there with a crit is going to pop it, but he can reestablish that sub if he wants. Here comes Scarm, and it's a second Calm Mind instead. Great play for Zern. Very dangerous now. T-Bolt all but kills the Scarm, but it crucially survives just barely and gets a game-saving roar off. However, he cannot prevent the Rapid Spin, so all the spikes he worked so hard to establish are gone. Rachi comes into a drill pack that was trying to kill the Claydol. Now Rachi threatening Scarm, stays in, kills him with T-Bolt, leaves us in a 3-3. It's been a close series, and this game is more of the same. The outcome very much in doubt here. Can still go either way. Very close, very back and forth between these two players. And the pause is on Lax this time as he figures out how to follow up to this Jirachi. Let's look at his options. Oh, let's not look at his options. The decision has been made. Here comes Celebi. We know it has Leech Seed, and we know that it's slower. He also has HP Fire, so this is a Mind Games turn. Calm Mind thinking it'll be Hidden Power rather than Leech Seed. He's correct. Can Zern get it right again? Calm Mind again thinking it's Hidden Power rather than Leech Seed. He's correct again. Now he can substitute, block Leech Seed, and Hidden Power without a crit. Won't pop it. So Zern 2 for 2 correct on the predictions. Outplays Lax here. Now Lax might have an issue. Substitute should come down here, and Lax is going to need luck to get out of this now. He has been outplayed 2 turns in a row. Wow, he goes for Calm Mind again. I don't know about that. I would have subbed there all day if I'm Zern. Well, that's what he's going to do now. I don't like the third Calm Mind there at all. Imagine getting crit by Hidden Power on that turn or getting hit with Leech Seed. I think he should have subbed. I liked Zern's play for 2 turns. I didn't like the third CM, but he might get away with it here. There's a 4th CM. Does he not have Ice Punch? Is that what's happening here? He does not. He's going for Thunderbolt. Are the attacking moves T-Bolt and HP Grass? Is that the issue here? T-Bolt again. And Hidden Power again. I'm seeing GGs. They must be ahead of us in real time. Jirachi down. Doll down. Well, we know it is Giga Drain, so probably Swampert down. And indeed, Swampert down. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why you don't run shit coverage like Bolt plus HP Grass. Had that Jirachi simply been the much more standard, much better Bolt Beam, or pseudo Bolt Beam in this case, he would have just won the game. Instead, tries to get cute with Garbaggio coverage, gets punished for it, and Lax is able to do it with just a Celebi. Not even a CM Celebi, just a standard plain Jane Celebi. Don't like the coverage on the Rachi, and it costs him dearly here. Lax wins the game and the match, and he will advance to the semifinals of this bracket. Zern out of play-ins. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This was definitely a close play-in set. All 3 of these games felt for a while like they could have gone either way. But the only thing that matters is what did happen. And like I said, that is a Lax victory. You will see him in the next round of play-ins. Appreciate you guys watching. Keep it here. Lots more CI content on the way from myself and others. I will see you guys in the next video.